In this video, I'm going to be going over 10 After Effects tricks I wish I knew sooner in my career. I'm going to be going over some pretty practical tips that I use all the time inside the software. And as we go through them, leave comments down below on which ones you did and didn't know. Let's dive in.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
The first one I use all the time inside After Effects. Let's say if I want to change out all these logos to a different logo, what I can do is select all 61 logos here inside my Layers panel and use a keyboard shortcut to replace all these logos with a new item inside the project panel. So with this After Effects icon selected, what I can do is hold down Option, click and drag to my timeline, and once I let go, you'll notice that all these layers update to the new logo. The next trick is, say if I want to animate this stroke, what I can do is turn on trim paths for this layer. This enables me to trim the path of the layer, and in most cases I use this to trim the stroke and to animate strokes on in different shapes. So to add a trim paths, what we can do is click on our layer, twirl down, go under Contents, and then you should see this Add button. Click on it and add a trim paths. When we twirl down under trim paths, you can see we have start and end. We can change the start value to 100, keyframe it, go out forward in time, and turn it down to 0. So when we play this back, you can see we have a nice animation. Another thing I often do with shape layers is resize them. But sometimes, say if I wanted to resize this layer, say if I wanted to make it smaller, like that, you notice that it gets distorted. To fix this, what we can do is edit the size of the rectangle path rather than the scale of the layer. So to do that, twirl down under Contents, under Rectangle 1, and then go into Rectangle Path. Now in here you should see the size property, and you can click this Unlink button. Then you can change the X and Y property separately here. Now one thing I do often in After Effects is work with slideshows a lot. And as you know, images are a bunch of different sizes. So for example here, I have all these images from Cleveland, my hometown, and I want to make a slideshow out of these images. But when I click and drag these into my composition, some are portrait, some are landscape, and they're all different sizes. What we can do to conform all these layers to the size of the composition is right-click on all these layers and go to Transform, Fit to Comp Width or Height. In this case, I'm going to do Height. You'll notice that they all conform to the composition's height, which is really nice. Now that we have these, the next step is to trim our layers. An easy way to trim layers is to go out forward to how long you want each layer to last, and then use the keyboard shortcut Option End bracket to trim the layers. Now that we have our trim layers, the next part is to sequence them. I basically want to, make them back to back, but doing this manually will take a long time. Instead, what we can do is sequence them automatically by clicking on the first layer, holding down Shift, select our last layer, right-click on them, and go to Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers. You even have an overlap option that you can enable by checking on the box. You can set the duration, and you can choose how the animation for the transition occurs. In this case, I'm going to dissolve the front layer, and then click OK. And you'll notice when we play this back, we have a nice simple slideshow animation inside Adobe After Effects. Did you know any of them so far? Leave a comment down below. Now this next one I use all the time. So say if you animate a shape layer such as this, I have the scale property animated, but I made the shape, I scaled it, I animated it, but I want to make it larger. How do you make this larger without disrupting the keyframes? If we just scale this up, you'll notice that it gets really weird and we conflict with the keyframes. So instead what we can do is add a transform effect. So by doing that, we can go up to Effects and Presets and type in Transform, and then click and drag the Transform effect to the layer. You'll notice that we have a new scale property here, and we can scale this up, and we've scaled this up without affecting the animation. You can do this with any of the other properties as well, such as position or rotation. Another feature I like to turn on is shy layers. So I like to turn on shy layers to hide different layers inside my composition that I don't necessarily need to see or want to edit in the future. So to make layers shy, what I can do is select them. So in this case, I'm going to select these solids here and turn them to be shy layers by clicking on this switch here. If you don't see them, you can toggle your switches and modes down below. And once they're visible, you can click on them. They become shy. As you see the shy guy duck his head. And then you can click this switch to enable shy layers to be hidden by clicking on that button there. And as you can see, they are now hidden, but they're still active in my composition. This just saves timeline real estate and kind of frees up some space inside my timeline. Now, another thing I do in After Effects a lot is work with vector layers. And by default, sometimes they're a little small inside my composition. But you'll notice when I go to scale them up, sometimes if I zoom in, you'll notice that they're blurry. To fix this, what you can do is turn on this switch right here to continuously rasterize the layer. When you click on this, you'll notice that it becomes crisp and clear. This is because this continuously rasterizes the layer as it scales up. Now, another feature I like to use is to display the render time for each layer. To enable this, you can click on this little snail icon at the bottom left, and a new column will appear. This displays how long it takes for each layer to render out. This can be quite helpful. For example, if I turn on this layer here that has Video Copilot's Saber effect, you can see this takes up quite a bit of time to render out. This is helpful to see which layers are taking the longest to render out, and if you need to make any adjustments to your composition to try to make them render out faster. Now, speaking about rendering faster, I did make a video going over how to make After Effects render faster, some tips and tricks. I will link that video right up there if you do want to check out that video. But that does it for this one. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.